Hello guys, welcome. So this is math class, and of course, you know my name by now, Miss Anna Para. Awesome, beautiful. So today we are going to learn about data presentation. Data simply means information, so raw facts, and then it's processed to give you information. So when you get those information or when you get those raw facts, how do you present them? How do you pass across those information to people? That's what we're going to look at in today's mathematics class.
Okay, so let's start. Now, what are data representation? Data representations are different tools you can use to share information. So it depends on what you are trying to communicate and who you are trying to communicate with. So we can represent data in various ways. We can represent data making use of numbers, pictures, charts, okay, to represent our information. So that way it just like a way of making your information easier for people to understand. So why is it useful? Why is it important for us to represent data other than using words? Now, it helps you to organize information. You know, your information they look organized, they look planned. So that way, it helps you to organize your information. You can easily compare data when you need to compare, like making use of a table, so you can easily compare data. Then it's very easy for you to understand and share. So I don't have to be with you for you to try to get what I'm trying to communicate. Also, they help us to make decisions, they help us to educate others, and we can easily spot trend and patterns. Like if you pay attention to some kind of graphics or some kind of graph, you will see line going down, like from up to down or from down to up. So when you see it going from a high point down to a low point, it's going to show that that means there's a fall or a decrease. But if you see it moving from a low point to a high point, you can easily tell that there's like an increase. There's an increase in it. So you don't even need to know what the information is all about, but just looking at that kind of graph, you can easily understand what's going on, what I'm about to see. So that's why it's very, very useful for us to represent data in different forms. So now that we've learned what data representation is all about, and we've looked at some of the ways that data can be, like the various forms of data. We've said that data can be represented using numbers, using pictures, using chat. Now let's take a look at some of those ways we can represent data. So the first kind of data representation form we'll be looking at is tables, making use of tables. So we can make use of tables to represent data. Now look at the example I have over here. I want to compare. You know, table is very, very useful for comparing information and for organizing your information. Now, what I want to do is in my class, I have a number of students, and out of those students, I have different students that are taking some subjects. So I have a table with two columns, one for subject, the other one for number of students. So you can see the subjects have been outlined: history, maths, English, PE, science. And you can see the number of students. That means 19 students are taking history, 27 students are taking maths, 25 students are taking English, 18 students are taking PE, and 28 students are taking science. So it's very easy for one to understand. So I don't even need to do too much talking. Once I just show this table to somebody, they can easily understand the information I'm trying to pass across. Now, talking about pie chart looks like a pizza. So you know your pizza is round, circular, and then you divide it into eight. So your pie chart is kind of like that. You can divide it into as many parts as needed. So it looks like a pizza that is divided into parts. Now you make use of pie charts when you want to show how something is divided into parts, and it's perfect for representing data using percentage. So you can see I'm trying to represent color. Maybe I'm trying to represent like number of people that love different colors. So people that love color pink, I have them 20%. People that love color yellow, 30%. So you can see that the space for 30% is wider than the space for 20%. Now, those that love color purple, 15% is much, much smaller than 20. Those that love color orange, I have 5%. And those that love color blue, you can see the range over there. So it's perfect when you want to represent data using percentage. So far we've looked at the use of tables and pie charts to represent data. So now we're looking at the use of bar charts. Now bar charts uses bars that can be vertical or horizontal. Vertical simply means running from up to down. horizontal means running from left to right. So those your bar charts, they are used to show and compare data. So when you want to compare different categories or items, you make use of bar charts. And over here you can see the picture. So this is what it looks like. So we're trying to compare people that love banana, apple, grape, pear, strawberry. So we have all of those different colors showing you can see that some are small, some are big, some are equal. So that is just used to compare different categories or items. Now we have the line graph. The line graph uses line to show how data changes over time. So this is what I was talking about the other time. So you can see the line. It's moving upwards. So from a low point to a high point, or from a high point to a low point. Now in this case I have over here, the graph is moving from a low point to a high point. So it's showing increments, that there's an increase, there is a rise. But if I have it moving from like a high point down to a low point, it's moving downwards. It shows that there's a decrease, there's a fall. So line graph is also another form of representing data. Now we have histogram. Histogram. Now we have so many ways we can represent data. So this is the last one we're talking about in this class. Histogram. Now histogram is kind of like a bar chart because you can see the picture, they are similar. So it's kind of like a bar chart, but it uses numbers in ranges, okay, not categories. Your bar chart works for categories while your histogram works for ranges. So you use histogram when you have data in different ranges, like measuring the heights of people in your class. So you can put the height of people in your class that, okay, their height in centimeters and then the number of people. So you can see over here, I have that for people measuring about 120 centimeter, I have just one person who has a height of 120 centimeter. Then I have another, maybe like two people who have a height of 125 centimeter and all of that. So just used to represent in ranges, compare data in ranges. So far we have seen the importance of representing data other than using your words. So you can see that there are so many ways that we can represent data. We can make use of tables, we can make use of pie charts, bar charts, we can make use of, there's something we also call pictogram, we have histogram, we have so many ways we can represent data, even using line graph. So data representation is a way of showing information in a clear and easy to understand format. So that way everybody gets to understand what you are saying. You don't have to be there to explain it because it's going to be in a clear and easy to understand format. So with that, we have come to the end of today's mathematics class. So see you in our next class. Bye.